article from the Standard, he argued that interns should actually pay the employer instead. So he says this paid and paid intern debate is about graduate entitlement culture. Welcome back to Nosey's podcast with your host Melissa. On this week's episode, I'll be addressing something that has come to my attention, and joining me is Kemama. I'll let you introduce yourself today.
Hello, my name is Kemama. I'm a photographer, videographer, streamer, and also part-time, but not really DJ. But, you know, as a creative, you try to do as much as you can. But for me, I basically started doing photography since I was a kid with like a Kodak film camera. And with that, I just ended up teaching myself everything that I know to date. So, yeah, you can basically say I'm a self-taught creative.
Self-taught, I feel like, especially in the creative industry, most of us have been self-taught. As much as, for example, I went to degree level mass communication, and I can say like 90% of the things I taught myself to do with photography, it was self-taught, because basically what you're doing in school is theory. So I feel like when you're self-taught, you understand much better and you're able to craft your own identity and style.
It's actually very underrated these days, because people think that you have to actually go to school and learn all these things, but how everything works these days is that you just need to go onto YouTube and literally learn everything you need to know.
Everything is there.
Exactly.
Yeah, YouTube University.
Yeah, basically. I think we have all graduated from YouTube University.
But we had discussed like earlier, when you go to YouTube, you watch the videos, and then when you go down to do it yourself, you're like, oh my god, I didn't get anything. So you have to go and do it again.
Exactly.
Like, is this the same thing as like, is it Pinterest?
Yeah.
Or this like 5-minute craft sort of things? You watch the video, you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, I can do it. And then the next thing you have to go back and watch it again because you don't get it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it's a process, and I feel like it's worth doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, because I think even for me, the one thing that I really also didn't learn like about school and all was you could learn all these things, but at the end of the day you had to take a test.
Oh yeah, the test. Oh god.
And I think that's what makes
the written test.
Exactly.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you end up just forgetting everything you've learned, and that pressure is what really just was it for me. And I think that's why I just said I'd rather learn how to do everything myself.
Yeah.
And if I make a mistake somewhere, I can just always redo it, and I'm not going to be penalized for it. So I think that's what made me enjoy what I do now more than anything.
Some people are actually not meant for school. Like, I feel like it's a personality. This is just my opinion, but I feel like it's just like a personality. Like, personally, some people are quote unquote allergic to sitting down behind a desk and doing theory work.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Especially in the creative industry. I can imagine, like, right now, me sitting down as a photographer, learning about a camera.
Yeah.
And getting a test about it, like theory. I can't sit, like, I'd rather just go outside and learn myself, because that's just the basis. It's a practical practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Have you ever worked for a company, like employed? Because I do understand creative industry, you can self-employ yourself and, you know.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked for a company before?
For me, what I can say is I've basically been a freelancer through and through, because I've had the thought of actually working for a company, but at the same time, you see, that's what I'm saying. Also, like, for a company, it's like a job, it's like a test, because you have to like send them a whole list of things from a portfolio, from your degree, and all those things. The whole process. And I'm just like, oh god, by the time I actually start planning to do all that, I just can't. I don't have either. I just can't do it, or I just don't have the time to do it.
It's exhausting to actually think about it.
Yeah, and it's so much stress, because it's like you either might get the job
or you might not.
Exactly.
And these days it's all about connections, you know, as much as you just like, right, you've done your CV, umewatumia portfolio, But then at the end of the day, the person taken is, aliongea na such and such a person,
Yeah.
ndo maana ameingia. So you're like, hey, okay,
Exactly. So
I get that.
So for really, I could work for a company, but that's if basically they just hire me for what I do. So they
Right.
know, like, okay, this guy can video edit. We need someone who can do that, like make videos of this specific thing, and I'll be like, yeah, I can do that. Because actually, that's what I'm even doing right now. I'm making videos for a company, but it's just basically interviews and all that. So with that, I can actually be like, yeah, if you need me to do something, just ask, and I'll do
Right.
it. But if you tell me to send a portfolio, something like that, nah. I that's a job I can't take.
Allergic to it.
Oh yeah, so allergic to it. Like,
Yeah.
because actually, even most of the times, I'm just recommended. So someone just calls me. They're like, "Oh, someone needs you to edit this," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And within a couple of weeks, it's done. Payment is sent, and then that's it.
Yeah, and if someone if it's someone new, a client you want to get in touch to, or they get in touch with you, you can of course just show your portfolio, the one the work that you've done before.
Exactly.
Right.
But the funny thing is, I was actually watching a video saying, it's kind of off topic, but it's basically saying how your Instagram is not your portfolio.
Oh yeah, right.
And it was such an interesting thing about it, and I was like,
What do you think about that? Like Instagram not being a portfolio?
yeah, maybe back then it was, but now how everything is going, everyone posts anything, you know,
Yeah.
and you can't really be guaranteed that that's your work that you've posted.
Oh, for sure, copyright
Yeah.
issues and all that.
Exactly, because there
Yeah.
are people who have, I'm pretty sure, got many jobs like that where they've just posted other people's work, and they're like, yeah, this is the work I've done. Because
Yeah.
people don't watermark their pictures these days, because
Yeah.
it's not their Instagram, so you already know that that's their work. But not many people know your page, or recommend it to you, so you can't really know that that's your official work.
Yeah.
And I think that's why even these days they say you'd rather even have a website with all your pictures and everything as your portfolio, which would make sense. Because that's something it's curated by you, and when it comes to businesses, you can give them your site, like on a business card or email, and be like, yeah, this is now my site. It has your name, and even you can watermark them, and it'll be official, looks official, and all that stuff. So,
right.
Because at the same time, how many people actually have access to Instagram?
Right.
Because I know even as it is now, people are actually just leaving Instagram more and more, just staying with one platform, either Twitter or Facebook.
TikTok.
TikTok, yeah. Like even just Telegram, WhatsApp, like people are even just off social media these days. So at least with the website, they can you just give them, they go on their phone, type it in, boom, it's right there.
And these days now I've seen there's this company, it's not Kenyan, but they had come up with this concept where they have a QR code. I don't know if it's a QR code or it's a QR code on a card.
Yeah.
Like a business card sort of, but it's digital. Where like if you meet like new people, you're say now videographer, right?
Yeah.
Instead of now you sending someone, okay, go to my Instagram and whatever, they can just, you give them the card. I think you give them the digital card, they scan, and then everything there, the contacts, your contacts, everything is just like right. And I thought that's very innovative these days. People are moving away from just Instagram and moving to something more easier and efficient.
Yeah, because actually if you do think about it, because you can literally have the QR code anywhere, on your wallet, behind your phone, in your case, and you can just literally, because I know these days phones are implementing on their camera app QR code scanner. So all you just literally have to do is just move your phone, put the camera up. You don't even have to take a picture. It just automatically scans and gives you a website, and you literally just take the website and boom.
Yeah, especially now with COVID and everything, I've seen a lot of organizations doing that, from restaurants to hospitals. Yeah, so I feel it's a great move forward.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a slow one though, because these days, even me, when I see a QR code in a restaurant where it's like, go here to go to the menu, and I'm like, no, I just want the menu here physically. So I guess
you're used to the paper with a physical aspect to it.
Exactly, and I think even with that, it's also a good show of how, if you want to get something out there, you'd rather do it through word of mouth,
right,
than proper. Okay, but proper marketing obviously will be the best, but it's always word of mouth that will always be the best,
Yeah.
in my opinion, about it.
Let's move to our topic for today, professional slavery. It's a term I found on Twitter,
Yeah.
believe it or not. And it came from a tweet from one Janet Machuka. She had retweeted a job ad.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just read it out loud.
Yeah.
Job description. We are
Mhm.
looking for a video production intern to join our team.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just highlight intern,
Mhm.
video production intern.
Yeah.
The video production intern will be responsible for designing, coordinating, directing, shooting,
The Hindist.
and editing True Talents of Africa video material and content delivered for distribution on the internet.
That's a lot.
Now, these are the requirements. Our ideal candidate should have fierce attention to technical detail,
Uh-huh.
quite a word,
Mhm.
a knack for storytelling and creative eye, a great understanding of football,
Uh-huh.
strong organizational skills in managing hard and fast deadlines, strong communication skills.
There's
Requirements.
more. Hey.
Now, these are the technical requirements.
Mm.
Must be good at video editing,
Mhm.
which is Adobe. They've written
Adobe.
all the suits, everything. Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut, DaVinci Resolve.
Mm.
Then the other one is must have a personal computer that can handle the editing software.
Yeah, but
Already
then-
access to one.
Exactly. Because by the time you even get a professional laptop that can run those things,
Yeah.
it's already a cost on its own. But uh-huh.
Now the next one
Mhm.
is have a camera capable of capturing high definition footage.
Mm.
They've put in brackets, not mandatory, but
Mhm.
would be an added advantage in the recruitment process.
Mm.
So that already, red
Yeah,
flag,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So it ends by saying this is an unpaid 6-month internship. Transport and meals will be provided to the interns. University and college students who need an internship as a prerequisite for graduation encouraged to apply. So as you can imagine, I can, from your
Yeah.
expressions,
Mhm.
a lot of people were not happy with this.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's why they coined the term professional slavery, because they were wondering, why would you list all these requirements for an intern? Reading from the get-go, they're responsible. It's not like they're under supervision. They're responsible for designing,
Yeah.
coordinating, basically what a video producer does.
Mhm.
So what are your views on this? Do you think it's justified? Should they,
It's ridiculous. That's like, where do you even start with this? Because it's just basically like just saying, hey, you've gone to school for this. This is like, again, if you're a doctor, you go literally learn for 6 years, and then the hospital is like, oh yeah, come do everything a doctor does now, and don't get paid for
we
it.
won't pay you,
Exactly.
but what you're going to get is this
Experience.
exposure and experience.
Exactly.
Gosh, that is a trigger word, honestly.
I think every creative has PTSD against that word, because
Yeah. I think something just switches in your brain, like once you hear that word. It's a trigger word.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I never understand why they see what we do as free work. Like, is it because they see it everywhere they go on TV, and they can see how people just make videos for them for free?
Right.
Because maybe they have that mentality. Because when you watch like a TikTok video, you're being entertained for free.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, they're like, why should I pay something that is free to the whole world
Yeah.
at this point? And it just, I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense to me, if you ask me. And
It's baffling.
It's baffling. I'm actually
Flabbergasted.
I'm actually speechless about it.
Yeah.
And all, and it's something that actually just needs to be implemented in people's minds, that hey, it's still an actual job that you need to pay for.
Yeah.
Because if at the same time, I don't think people know the amount of work that goes into all this stuff. Because when you do a course in photography or videography, it takes like what, a year or two? Actually, one of the shortest
Courses, yeah.
courses you can do. And they are like, okay, this is such a short degree, like why should you pay so much for something that can be done. Because for them, they see the recording process. You just record in a day, and they're like, yeah, see, the video is done already. And you're like, no, you actually have to sit down, edit for like the next 5 days, and make sure like everything goes well. And that's if, nothing goes wrong.
Edit, by the way.
Exactly, because there's that fear that, this project could crash and you just lose everything. For them, they don't really know that. And at the same time, they also don't understand how much all this gear costs,
Especially for someone, I think they're looking for, because they emphasized university and college students.
Exactly.
This is someone who, is still supported by their parents, supposedly. Most of them are.
Yeah, exactly.
So if it's getting equipment, that's expensive. And you can imagine now, they're not promising any insurance for those equipments.
Exactly.
Because I remember when I went for internship at KBC, we were told to get an insurance.
Yeah.
Basically for them, because they were not going to, of course, when an intern breaks something, the school won't be responsible. So we got the insurance and everything. So I feel like for something like this to be put forward as an internship is exploitation.
Yeah.
That's why they call it professional slavery, because they still modern slavery to a certain level. Because you can imagine this person is going to the field, being that this is a football company. They deal with talents, small young people who like football and stuff. And this person is probably going to the field. They say the transport and meals will be provided, but at the same time, I'm carrying my gear to this place. What if something happens? They'll just turn a blind eye.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I looked at the comments of the tweet, and some were justifying this is a good step forward, because you shouldn't be picky.
Yeah.
Especially now with the unemployment rate in Kenya, someone would see this ad, being a graduate, and they'd totally accept going for it.
Exactly.
And they'd find, okay, this is not bad. And someone was saying, you can get exposure. You can get exposure. You get people connections, from the field and everything. But in reality, you end up becoming this emotional strain you get.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the creative industry, because you're using your creativity, you're using your mental capacity to do all these things.
That's true.
So at the same time, there's someone like you would say this is unfair, that you can't be doing this. Then there's someone else at the back saying, you know what, I can just take this job and whatever. So at the end of the day, it's a split
between it all. And that makes sense, because at the end of the day, it's just something that needs to be drilled into people's heads. Like, at this rate, I don't know if I should just make a shirt with like all the price of the equipment I have.
I think I saw a t-shirt like that.
Serious?
But it was outside Uko, Canada. Some photographer had made something similar to that.
I was just showing all the pricing and stuff, because it's like, it's not an easy feat, because even by the time you even get that equipment, you have to also get it insured, and that's also a whole other price you need.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it just doesn't add up. Like, but at the end of the day, I think this is just a topic that needs to be talked about more often and all, because you can't just be telling creatives that, hey, we won't pay you. Yeah, there's someone here at a restaurant who's just serving people, honest living, and is still getting paid way more than we are. And it just doesn't make sense that you can't even be paid even on the same length. Like, people just don't even consider that, hey, money is a thing when it comes to a creative. And that's just my 2 cents.
Even if you look at it in someone in school, that person probably, let's assume they're in 4th year. They have acquired a certain amount of skills, so that is still valuable to a company. So even to look at it in that, he just needs somewhere to be, not to be zuraying around and unemployed. But this is money someone has spent to learn these skills. So either way, they should be remunerated somehow, because they're giving you something. their skills, mental capability. Without them, you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to
Actually, yeah, get the
get the
media.
content and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you're watching.
But the government has actually developed an internship policy for internship in public service specifically, not private companies.
Okay.
I'll just read a summary of that. First, I'll read the definition of an intern according to the government.
Yeah.
So, this is the criteria the person has to have.
Okay.
Number one is unemployed.
Okay.
They have to be unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Then the other one is they have entered a government contract with a government organization for a period of 3 months to 1 year. This is the policy that they've developed.
Okay.
And according to the policy, an intern is entitled to a monthly stipend, not salary, but a stipend, and also annual compassionate sick leave. They say the annual compassionate sick leave, though this sick leave is not a mandatory right.
Yeah.
It's sick leaves are mostly found in the Employment Act for employees. So an intern is not actually an employee under the government.
Yeah.
And they're not entitled to the same rights and obligation as an employee.
Yeah.
An employee, according to them, their definition of an employee is someone hired in exchange for wages or salary. And apprentices fall under this category. So you can't go out there calling yourself an apprentice and stuff, and you're not, employed and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's their definition. So technically, this advert falls in line with what the government
Just trying to
defines an intern is. They're not entitled to a salary.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So you can't go in court and say, this and this, especially if you're working in the government institution.
Yeah.
You can't, if you're an intern, then that's it. You can't argue your case in court. I'm doing this for this, and
yeah.
So it becomes difficult.
That's true. Because think about it as well. I don't even understand why when, let's say even like a studio house is even, let's say they're hired to shoot a commercial, and when everything is done, like, okay, even that's before it's done, like it also depends with the company. Sometimes they tell you spend your money first to get everything done, and then we'll pay you after. Or sometimes they'll either pay half, and if the company is very nice, which is very rare, they'll pay the full amount beforehand. But most of the time, it becomes even a whole issue when it comes to these studio houses, because they usually rent out everything. So they get someone to do makeup, someone to get the lights and everything. So they have to do that all on their accord with their own money. And then when everything is done, it takes months before the whole full payment is even paid. And I just don't understand why does it take that long to pay, when if it's something else, let's even say like an event, everything's paid for beforehand. You know? So why is that the mentality of like we'll always pay later there when it comes to creative work?
There's no regulation actually, especially when it comes to the creative industry.
Exactly.
There's no accountability either.
That's the thing. Because when it comes to contracts and all, the contract is there, but by the time even if you file even an issue with the company, then it's a whole process on its own, and that's even more payments.
And they have their army of lawyers if you try to take them to court.
Exactly. And you see, it's just a lose-lose situation for creatives, and it's one thing that's always been bothering me as well.
Right.
About that whole situation, but I don't know, do you have a point to give about that?
Well, when it comes to, personally for me, I've luckily or unluckily, I've never had to write a contract or give a contract to anyone. Thank God, most of my clients have been very nice people. Though you find those ones who, when it comes to paying, there's a huge issue, because this person approaches you, they say, okay, fine, how much do you charge for this, this, this?
Yeah.
Then you agree, sort of, because these are return, customers, not the first time.
Yeah.
You find that when it now comes down to paying the person, you agree with them.
Yeah.
Okay, take me pictures and then I'll pay you afterwards.
Yeah.
You already know this person, they already know your work and everything. But then something changes and They're like, oh no, can I just like pay in installments? And
Yeah, and all. And
you
it's
just nightmares. It's yeah. So
mm-hmm.
I really don't like dealing with such.
Yeah, or such.
But it's the majority, like 90% of.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
How everything, like everyone's mentality is just really messed up when it comes to creative work. Like, if I was to ask you one pet peeve you hate about the creative industry, what would it be?
Creative industry, as in just generally the community itself, or outside?
Just let's say everything. Like, okay, let me give an example. Like, for me, I would say my pet peeve when it comes to shooting or recording is weddings. Like, a wedding is
Off limits.
yes, because it's just, whew, my God. I'm telling you, it's stress.
I know. I did one wedding, the very first one.
Serious.
It was some time back. I think I was still in school.
Yeah.
I just gotten my camera.
Mm-hmm.
And this wedding we were shooting for free.
Oof.
I was still
that
young.
That one, we always cry. It's like, imagine
It
used
was
to do
for
what?
a friend.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
And he was trying to, low budget.
Yeah.
It was just a young couple. They hadn't on the come up. So I was like, okay, it's good for my portfolio. So why don't I do it? Oh my goodness. Reaching the place for shooting. Chaos, total utter chaos. Because I remember only 2 photographers. He was also shooting for free.
Yeah.
Everything was total chaos because you can't. It's draining, mentally draining, because you can imagine. Okay, here's the bridesmaids. The bridesmaids should stand like this. There's the whole aspect of the lighting, and there's this, and there's so much going on. Like,
yeah, that's just.
I can't. And I was like, from then on, every time I hear, "I'll come and do this wedding,"
yeah,
I have to think twice, honestly, because
it does. It really
I think
does
that's
make
one
sense.
of my first pet peeves.
Yeah. Because why I even brought that up is because I saw an article, I think this week, where I don't remember the title exactly, but it says a hungry photographer deletes pictures because he hadn't
Gotten paid.
Eaten.
Oh, I saw that one. I actually saw it today. I was like,
and for the context for the people, it's basically this guy. It wasn't even his friend. He was even giving him a discount on the shoot shoot his wedding and everything. So the thing is, that guy was shooting for 6 hours straight, and he wanted to have something to drink or eat, and the guy, his friend, told him, "Hey, if you sit down, eat or drink anything, I won't pay you." And the guy was like, "Oh, bet." Deleted all the pictures and left.
And I saw actually a reply. It was I think I saw it on Instagram. It was a screenshot.
Yeah.
The screenshot. And someone was like, in an African wedding, this would not have happened. They'd actually be offended if you hadn't eaten.
Imagine. So I'm just like, people have the audacity
The
to
audacity.
actually refuse you to even just drink or eat something small after working for 6 hours straight.
Slavery. That is slavery.
It is.
Ati kosa kukula. How am I supposed to shoot your pictures? And what if he faints?
Exactly.
What would you do then?
Exactly. Will you pay for those medical bills that come after? No, and that's the thing. No one ever wants to take accountability of anything that goes wrong.
Yeah.
That's when it comes to us. That's why even like if guy is stolen, guys are like, "Oh, Paul, you can just buy more." And you look at them like, with what money?
Exactly.
The money that you're being stingy with, and you refuse to give us to actually, upgrade our equipment and everything.
Whenever I see such things like that, I ask myself, okay, put the client now. I would ask the client, put yourself in my shoes.
Yeah.
You have a business. You want to, you offer services, of course. Would you like the same thing to be done to you?
Exactly.
Being treated unfairly? Would you like someone to not pay you, or decide in the middle over there, like, I'm not paying you if you don't do this and this and that?
Exactly.
Would you do the same thing? Because now this is just an entrepreneur themselves. They just offer a service to you. They offer their minds, basically their minds,
their energy.
their energy.
Yeah.
And here you are trying to hustle your way through, okay, I understand there's some people who just up their prices just because of name, but there's some people who are genuinely like they have good quality and they charge you according to expenditure, like what he's worth.
Yeah.
But then you go and turn around and say, no, like this shouldn't be like this, or why can't you like do it for less? And I mean, you can't. Basically, if someone would enter your shop and say, no, do this, like buying a TV, right?
Yeah.
No, just do for me this much. You don't know how much it took him to import and whatever it is, and the rent, the electricity, everything.
Yeah.
And it's quality. It's not easy as fake China or whatever it is. It's good quality, but you still want to hustle the person.
Exactly.
It really baffles me, honestly.
I think at that point we just need like at least just put in every shop showing how much this guy imported this for, how much the truck brought it here.
Yeah.
And just everything just to make it fair, because at this point bargaining has become even like bread and butter.
Oh yeah.
Like they just
it's like a thing. You can't go somewhere without
bargaining.
Yeah.
Unless it's like that's the thing, unless it's a shop. Unless a shop looks fancy, then you don't really bargain, because you don't go to a jewelry store and you're like, hey, give me this for 10,000.
Yeah,
exactly. They look at you like, excuse me, sir, get out. I
think the only place you'd actually justify bargaining is where umeenda pale, you found like say a laptop battery.
Yeah.
You go to different places, window shopping, and then you find, okay, this is the price.
Yeah.
Say like 7K. That's the price of like a new laptop.
Yeah.
You go laptop battery, you go somewhere else and they charge you like what, 12K. You're like, come on.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
I think even these stores, I think maybe it's something like to do with boundaries. Like I think they have all set their boundaries. Like they've all stood together and be like, we are all going to sell the same price of this thing. I think that's how even supermarkets work. Okay, depends also. But they'll always have this one item that's always the same price wherever you go.
Yeah.
And I think that's even one thing we need to start implementing as creatives. Because that's another thing with creatives. We're all stingy. We all want to be like, this is my price. Don't copy my price. And that's one thing I've now understood. Like, why are you hiding your price?
DM me for prices.
Exactly. I'm like, I think that's even one thing Instagram.
It asks me. Oh my gosh.
And you see, and you leave a notice like the pages that have more traction are the ones who actually have their price there and then. Because I mean, I've come to a store and I've seen the price. I'm like, I'll buy it. What's the price?
Yeah.
And I see it there. I'm like, all right, cool. Here's the money.
You're able to plan. Now you go to DM for what?
And by the time they get replies, then it's like, unajua.
Unless it's like specifics, like it's maybe a customized something, like you want specifics. That's when you go to DM.
Exactly.
Right. But these things about no.
Because what I'm also just thinking, as something of late, is that to think about it, maybe the whole idea of free came to them is because we're the ones who kind of came up with it, because we were just like, okay, we'll do this thing for you for free. So that we can add it to our portfolio. And I think so many of us have done that now they've kind of expected us to always do
automatically.
It exactly, because they'll be like, so it's for your portfolio.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, yeah, but the portfolio is full now, like it's done and ready. And I think now you should pay. And they're like, no, let's just do it for free. You've always done it before. Because I think that's even the issue. Like I think we actually need to stop doing things for free now, because I think even at least a small amount, even if it's like 500, let's start there. Be like, I usually charge way more, but just for now,
just for now,
just for now, like one-time offer. That's what we need to start doing. One-time offers, like we'll do this at this price.
Some do it. Some people do it, but
because it's these boundaries that we need to set. You see, and I think that's even where this whole issue even comes from, because we're not setting these boundaries with these clients, companies, and being like, hey, this is the amount, but first time offer will give you a discount and all that stuff. And just grow from there. And then hopefully people's mindset will change from that, and then
especially Kenya.
Especially
Kenya. Outside
but like I think I even talked to the international client, and they were just like, I'll even give an example. There's this Chinese company that came to me. They wanted a lyric video, and they were like, "How much did you charge for it?" And that time I was like, "Let's say 15K." And they were like, "Cool, no bargaining, nothing." They were just like,
Were you surprised? You know, sometimes
yeah.
you get surprised because you're so used to you're gearing up to start negotiating the
Exactly.
negotiation battles.
And it was an email, so you're just like, "Yeah, it's 15K." And they're like, "Okay, this is what we need. This." I was like, "Cool." And the thing is, I think this took like a month to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of back and forth and asking people what was needed to be added and all that stuff. And I think by that week they were like, you can add the price up. By the way, I know this is taking a lot of work." And I was like,
What?
yeah. And
They said that.
imagine.
Okay.
And I was like, "Okay, sure, 20K." And they were like, "Okay, fine, we'll pay that."
Wow.
Literally, and the day I was done with the work, I sent them the final video. They're like, "We like this very much. Where shall we send the money?" Gave them the phone number. They sent it. Done.
Did they have their own like creative team?
No, nothing like that.
Because I feel like exploitation, especially in let's say media conglomerates or just creative organizations,
Yeah.
some of them don't have creative teams, or rather people who manage the media side of things.
Yeah.
So you find there's an out of touch
Mm.
aura in that organization where they don't understand the value or the value of this, like now what you're doing.
Yeah.
So they tend to undervalue,
Mhm.
exploit you,
Mm.
keep you up late hours working. They don't even honor their contract, some of them, and there's a lot of misunderstandings, basically because it's not that understanding. There's no one there who understands like you, this is how it happens, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
And that's where you get a lot of exploitation.
Mm.
Which brings me to a story I read in the Standard. I'll
Mhm.
link the article in the bio all across all the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
There's this, and let me just get the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's this lady who I think I missed it, it's not here, but I think I'll just summarize it.
Mm-hmm.
There's this lady who was employed in a company. It's not creative.
Yeah.
I think it was around IT.
Mm.
And she was supposed to work under a supervisor. She was supposed to do some, I think no, actually I think it was accounting. I'll check again. I'll just link. But the whole story was she was interning. She was supposed to go to a certain department and do some certain task under a supervisor, but she found she was doing something completely different aside from what she practiced or learned in school. So at the end of it, she was wondering, okay, you're telling me to go get coffee and do all these things and all these other
Mild
tasks that I have not, learned. What is the point of me getting internship if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do?
Exactly.
They were basically given the tasks the office assistant was supposed to do for them or with them, or rather just the office assistant. So you find in that case, even in that advert I read in the beginning, the intern can be put in that department, but you find they're doing these other jobs that they're not supposed to do. So even when someone comes and says, "Oh, just do the internship, you learn a lot of things that you'd use in your practice," you find such cases like this where you wouldn't even get the knowledge you're supposed to get or the experience you're supposed to get because someone just decided to become lazy and make the intern do the work. And some can even justify saying you need to know everything about the company before you get to.
Exactly.
I'm like, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of my 3, 6, 1 year period as an intern. Or even just working itself, right? Anything you have to say about that?
Well, yeah, obviously it's wrong to actually just make someone spend.
Do you think she should have quit in that case?
I was actually thinking about that because I'm like, okay, if she quits at the same time, will they give her a good recommendation after if she quits?
The dilemma,
Yeah. So you're left in this weird position where you're just like, okay, I can quit and actually go find somewhere that'll hire me, but with no recommendation. Or I can just take it out and actually get a recommendation and hopefully get a better company to hire me and all that stuff. So really, at the end of the day, it just depends on you as a person. Like, will you stand your ground, or will you just go with the blows and accept it for that moment and just take that sacrifice for the long run? Because for me personally, I think I'd quit. I don't think
right now the Ian right now would quit.
Yes.
Or the Ian
even back then
back then
I would, because I've always been a person who stands for myself, because I've always been like, if you don't stand up for yourself and for what you do, then who else will? And I was just like, I'm like, I would be like, enough is enough, because there's only so much you can do as a person and for someone else at the same time. So I would just be like, this is enough for me, because I know I'm capable of doing even better than I was in this company. So I'll go find someone actually who will look for that talent and be like, you, sir, because you see, that's how you even prove it. Because once you stand that grounded, you're like, you end up doing even something more amazing. There's actually many companies that have actually reached out to me from abroad, and they're like, hey, can you do this for us, or could you review this thing for us? And I was just and most of them, they're like, I'm like, cool, but at the same time they also think I'm in America. I don't know why. So actually, one company,
I think you should just remain like that.
I swear.
You shouldn't disclose.
No, that's
until you become like big.
That's a bad thing, because now the company actually even sent me the money, because I had even asked them the email. I was like, hey, have you sent for plus the shipping and all? And they're like, yeah, we'll send plus shipping. And they sent the money. Then I was like, oh, hey, the money for the shipping is missing. And they're like, oh, sorry, where are you located again? I'm like, Kenya. Ooh. Well, you see now, we need our money back, because we thought you're in America, and we thought we could
you almost had it.
Exactly, almost so close.
Right.
That's why I was just like, even right now, there was also another company that had reached out for clothing, and they're like, we'll send you a free shirt to check out, and if you want to, you can post about it and all, and if so, then we can give you a code so people can buy it as well. And I was like, cool, but the thing is, now it was limited to a credit card to purchase it.
Oh, okay.
So at that time I was just like, bruh, where's the PayPal? Like, something easier to actually purchase the thing. So even that one I couldn't do because of limiting small things,
Yeah.
But with time, if you just keep on doing what you want to do and just enjoying it and loving it, then people will see it and people will be like, this guy is actually good at what he does, and it looks like he's enjoying it. Because that's one thing, you can be doing something and not enjoying it, and people can really tell, because they'll just be like, this guy looks a bit down, but he has great content, but at the same time I really don't see much about him. I don't know if he's actually enjoying what he's doing, so you're always hesitant. But if you see someone happy doing what they love, that's why even if you watch a YouTube video of a vlogger, you can see them actually enjoying making those videos and all, and you keep on come to the next video again and again and again, because you're having fun with that person as well. So really, it's two things. It's like basically your work will speak for yourself and you will speak for yourself.
Right. And I think the most important thing is enjoying what you do. And that's where I think a lot of people are really fighting against these unpaid internships, especially in the creative industry.
Yeah.
Because you find, as I mentioned before, the depression aspect of it all, when especially if you go to this environment, the working environments where they're very exploitative, they don't respect you as much as you're just intern. You find even the work you want to do, say if you're working in an advertising agency and you're just an intern, you get so demoralized, you end up thinking twice, do I still want to do this? Is this how the advertising world is? So even the very aspect of just being in a workplace that is not healthy determines a lot about that creative who really has a passion for that job, but there's someone somewhere who has someone up there who has decided, you know what,
Yeah.
just an intern, let them do, you know, they're unemployed, they need this.
Yeah.
So I should do everything, you know, to make them learn the way I learned.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like school. You know, when you in Form 1 and the, you know, monos are like, the fourth years are like, oh, you know, you need to go through what I went through, so nini, so you can learn. And
I feel like that's even a topic on its own.
it is a topic on its own. Yeah, so it's just the same thing. And I feel it's very important, even for the interns, to get paid, number one, if it's, you know, is something intensive.
Yeah.
And also to have an environment where they can learn, because at the end of the day, these are interns who will one day be working, and you wouldn't want someone who's totally demoralized and not understanding, you know, this is something I love doing and this is how it should be, instead of how everything is. Yeah.
That's
and
true.
I'd like to read, I know you might agree or you might disagree on this comment. It's from an economist. I don't know if you know him, David Ndi. David Ndii.
It sounds familiar.
He's an avid tweeter. I read a lot of his tweets, and I just swipe whatever it is.
Yeah.
So on the topic of to pay or not to pay interns, from the same article from the Standard, he argued that interns should actually pay the employer instead. So he says this paid and paid intern debate is about graduate entitlement culture. Vocational skills are acquired mostly through apprenticeships. So these was vocational skills. Apprentices are not paid; they pay. That's what he said. What do you think about that?
That
The
should pay.
specifically graduate entitlement culture.
It makes sense, actually. But getting an intern to actually pay the employee doesn't really make sense, because at the end of the day, it's the employee who has the money to actually pay, but the intern is the one who's actually doing the job to get the money. If they had maybe another source of income, then I guess that would make sense to some extent. But other than that, it really doesn't look like something that would work out. But at the same, because at the same time, I was also having a point right now, thinking that there are some people who, they're in this job line and they've learned how to do everything, they've gone to school for it. None actually has the guts to say it, but they're actually just bad at what they do. They actually, because they just think because they have the degree, it means that they're the best photographer, best videographer out there. And when you see the work, you're like, did you actually go to school? And then even they start wondering, like, like, that school was not a great school, And you just left there like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Am I even supposed to hire this person in the first place as an intern? And not if they're this bad. And that's what I'll really give advice to people who are even getting into this whole intern maneno, is that really fine-tune what you can do. Like, go out there, take a bunch of photos. Just take as many as you can of everything, from people to animals to landscape to vehicles, and just edit them. And just find what works for you. Find your style and be like, this is what I'm good at. I can, add this and add that and move this, and the picture will come out perfect, Because there's no point of going looking for jobs and you're still trash at what you do. It just doesn't make sense. So even when it comes to video, just go shoot anything. Shoot yourself, your friends,
family,
and just edit something, find your style. Because at the end of the day, people will come and see what kind of style you do, and they'll be like, oh, I want that kind of video that you usually do. Because everyone can do like basic stuff, like if you want to shoot like an interview or something like that, you just need a mic, a camera, and that's it. Get someone to stand at the corner of the camera and be like, talk.
So at this point, let me ask you, does quality matter? Say like now for the mics and sound and everything, does it matter?
Oof. You want to answer that big question?
Because I'm asking because there's a point. In fact, the sound engineer is sitting next to me. I asked him, Can I get this lapel mic for
Mm.
my podcast?
Mm.
And he was like, no, it's not good sound, because there was a time I did an interview with the vicar of my church,
Mm.
and we just used the basic DSLR cameras
Mhm.
and the lapel mics. So
Yeah.
we plugged one on his
Mm.
you know, him, and one was on me, and I interviewed him, and
Mm-hmm.
the sound was okay.
Yeah.
But now when it comes to starting the podcast, you're trying to find funds, and I find the cheapest mics are the lapel,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Then-
I asked the sound engineer, and he's like, nah, don't take this lapel mic.
Yeah.
But it's the cheapest. Like, nah, don't do it. That's why I'm asking, you
Mm.
know.
The question.
Yeah, because,
Yes.
okay, according
Yeah.
to him, the mics we're using, call them what?
What, the lapels? Or
The ones we're using now.
Sure mics.
The Shure mics.
Yes.
We're using the Shure
Sure.
mics.
Just twang.
Shure
If you can't say
mics.
anything, just twang it.
When I talk too fast, that's what happens.
that's how I get away with stuff. I'm like, sure.
Shure mics.
mics. And they're like, oh, that one. I know that
Okay,
one.
I'll take that. Noted.
It sounds cliche, but disappointed. But yeah, if you've watched any YouTuber, any tech YouTuber, they'll always say, gear doesn't matter. And I agree, but the thing that they forget to say is gear doesn't matter in the beginning.
In fact, I'd actually talked about that in the last episode of the podcast.
Really?
It was about gear, photography myths.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was gear, you have to get the best gear
Yeah.
out there.
Exactly.
So this is something new I'm hearing.
Yeah. And it's so true, because at the end of the day, you can have the best gear, but what you edit can still be trash at the end of the day. So you just have to. That's why my previous point: work on what you can do best. Work on the best edit you can, and just keep on perfecting it every time. And I think that's even the problem I have, because I'm always like, I edit something, I'm like, it's not perfect. But at the same time, I show someone, they're like, it's so good. Like, bro, like, what do you mean it's not good? And I'm like, and I think that's the mentality that has made me grow better as a photographer and videographer, is that I keep on just trying to make the perfect thing. And with that, you end up wanting to learn more and doing more. And with that, people will see the work and want to actually pay you more for what you do.
Right.
So
The right people.
the right people, exactly. And
Am I
once you
correct?
fine tune that, then you start getting the and like once you perfect the outcome of everything you shoot and edit, then you get better gear. And then that's when gear actually matters.
Yeah.
Is when you're good enough.
I think when it comes to going back to now what David D said about the graduate entitlement culture,
Yeah.
to some sense it triggered me, because being someone who's studied mass communication, I did everything across the board, from broadcast to print to all that, acquired skills, went out, used my money sometimes to go and shoot something or do something. So by the time you're entering the field, mind you, right now you can get someone like me who's studied might not get a gig compared to someone who hasn't gone to school but has gone out and done the work and has a portfolio, and they'll get the job. So as much as all that, we still have the skills. We've acquired skills, we've gone through school, we've paid like hundreds of thousands of shillings to go and study and go out and do that.
Yeah.
Personally, this is my opinion. I really believe, and I stand with you by saying, at least pay your interns something.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, to me, it looks like, when you pay the intern, they even learn how to price themselves or value, understand. It's not a matter of weka nyuma, just look from the side and see how everything is done, and then you later on.
Yeah.
No, it should be, if I enter the internship, saying whatever it is I'm doing in the creative industry, I should get paid, and from that myself I can learn even how to quote my own prices.
Yeah.
Try to understand clients and all that stuff, and where to go and where not to go. Yeah, I really believe that. I don't think there's an entitlement. Well, I can say entitlement is not bad.
Yeah.
It's knowing your value. if you're good, that is, like you say, there are people who are bad.
Yeah.
They're genuinely really bad. But if you know you're good and you have value, especially in the creative industry, then I do believe you should have some sort of entitlement, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Because what I'm also thinking, what he meant to that point is like them saying that you need to pay the employee is basically like, do you think your work is good enough that you'll actually pay someone for it? Like, would you pay for your own work if you could? And I think, that's the kind of point he was trying to get people to understand. Because at the end of the day, you're like, I need to be paid for the work I need to do. But you yourself, would you actually even just take the time and be like, yeah, this work is good, I'll pay for it? Because if you do, then get paid. If you know your work is that good. But if you just come there being like, oh yeah, I have a degree, now pay me.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
It's all down to your portfolio, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why you just rather work everything out before you even start getting a job.
Right.
And
most important.
Yeah, because at this day, like, there are people who I know are out there willing to help you out in shooting anything and just growing that portfolio for yourself. So you don't even have to go to a company and shoot, Even just look for a friend's family member or your family member and just ask them, your uncle, auntie have a place that needs to be shot, and I can go do something for them and, build my portfolio from that. And then just, from there, just start building yourself from there. And then once you're good enough, then you start applying and actually going to work for a company or, for yourself.
And you can actually dictate your schedule yourself.
Exactly.
There's minimal stress when it comes to, of course, there's the other stress out there of being a self-employed creative.
Yeah.
But you find you're able to dictate and organize yourself well so that you're in charge of every aspect of what you're doing, and there's no such thing as being exploited.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. I think we've exhausted everything, unless it's something else you want to say.
No, I'm good.
It's written down on paper. We had already decided, no, this internship unpaid was
something that
a no-go zone. Yeah.
That's very true.
Thank you so much, Ian, for coming.
Anytime.
I'll link your socials in the descriptions across all platforms where the podcast is found.
Thank you.
At Nosey's Podcast. Everything will be down below. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Nosey's Podcast with your host, Melissa.